All right, let's talk about something that makes the entire internet feel fast. Something you use every single second you're online, but you probably never even see it. We're going to pull back the curtain on caching, the real secret to a faster internet. You know that feeling, right? You click something and bam, it's just there. It feels like magic. But then there's the other side of the coin, that slow, agonizing crawl of a loading bar. That feeling of frustration, it's universal. Well, the difference between those two experiences, that's what we're talking about today. Because that agony of waiting, that's the enemy. In our digital world, every fraction of a second matters, and waiting is the one thing nobody has time for. Think about it this way. Every time you open an app or a website, you're asking it to go get information. And usually that information lives in some huge, far-off database. You can picture it like a giant supermarket. It's got everything you could ever want. But imagine having to drive to that supermarket every single time you needed just one egg or a pinch of salt. It would be incredibly slow, right? Well, that trip, that's the bottleneck. So how do we fix that? How do we avoid all those unnecessary trips to the supermarket? Well, this is where a really simple but brilliant idea comes into play. Let's call it the pantry analogy. Okay, so here's the official technical definition. Caching is just a fancy word for temporarily storing copies of data somewhere super fast and easy to reach, like in a computer's RAM. The whole point is to cut down on that travel time. And this is where our analogy just clicks. Instead of running to the supermarket for every little thing, what does a smart chef do? They keep a pantry right there in the kitchen. It's small, it's close by, and it's stocked with all the essentials. The salt, the flour, the oil, the stuff they know they're going to need over and over again. It makes everything so much faster. That pantry, that's a cache. So what's the big payoff here? Why is this pantry such a game changer? Well, first, the performance boost is massive. You're cooking way faster. But it also means you're making fewer trips to the big supermarket, which takes a ton of pressure off that main system. Suddenly, your kitchen can serve way more people, which means it can scale up and it's way more cost efficient. And of course, the most important part, the person eating the food, or in our case, using the app, has a much, much better experience. Now here's where it gets really clever. It turns out there isn't just one pantry. Oh no, the smartest system use different types of caches in different places, kind of like a whole network of pantries, all designed to make things even faster. Let's start with the one that's closest to you, the client-side cache. You can think of this as a tiny little spice rack right on your kitchen counter. Your web browser, your phone, they use this to store things they know they'll need again, like a website's logo or some common images. Why go anywhere when it's literally within arm's reach? Okay, let's zoom out a little bit. Next up is the Content Delivery Network, or CDN. This is like having a well-stocked corner store or neighborhood pantry right in your town. Instead of getting a popular video from a server halfway across the world, a CDN puts a copy of that video in a server right in your city, so the trip is super short and super fast. And then we have the powerhouse, the big one. This is your in-memory cache, using tools like Redis or Memcached. This is the huge walk-in pantry right next to the stove. It's built into the application's ultra-fast memory, and it holds all the data that's being requested most often. This is the cache that makes the whole application feel like it's running at lightning speed. So, a really important question is, how do you keep this pantry stocked and up to date? Turns out there are a few ways to do it, and each one has its pros and cons. On the one hand, you have what's called a write-through cache. This is the super safe, super careful method. Anytime you add something new, you put it in the pantry, and you immediately update the main supermarket's records at the same time. Data's always safe, but it's a little slower. On the other hand, you've got the write-back cache. This one is all about speed. You just throw the new item in the pantry and say, I'll update the supermarket later. It's blazing fast, but you see the risk, right? If the pantry burns down before you get a chance to update the main records, that new information is just gone. And that idea of the pantry burning down brings us to the biggest challenge with caching. How do you make sure the stuff you've stored is actually fresh, useful, and not, well, expired? I mean, you've really got two big problems. First, your pantry isn't infinitely large. It's going to run out of space. So what do you do when something new and important comes along, but the shelves are totally full? And second, what happens when the ingredients go bad? What good is having milk in your pantry if it's already gone sour? This is the core challenge, getting rid of old stuff to make way for new stuff. So how do you decide what gets the boot? Well, one of the most popular ways is a pretty common sense strategy called least recently used, or LRU. It works exactly like it sounds. When your pantry is full and you need to make room, you just look around for that one thing you haven't touched in ages. That dusty old can way in the back, and you toss it. Simple as that. You get rid of what's old to make room for what's new and needed right now. So when you put all of these pieces together, these different layers of pantries, the smart strategies for stocking them, and clever rules for keeping them fresh, you get the foundation of the modern internet. You get this incredible feeling of speed, all driven by a hidden architecture you never even have to think about.
And look, don't just take my word for it. As the folks at algomaster.io say, the impact here isn't just minor. Caching can drastically improve pretty much everything about a system. How fast it feels, how many users it can handle, and how much it costs to run. It's not just a bonus feature, it's absolutely fundamental.
So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that caching is so much more than a speed trick. It's what allows websites and apps to handle millions of users without crashing. It saves tons of money by cutting down on expensive operations. It really is the invisible hero, the unsung engine that makes our digital world go. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought. This core idea of keeping important stuff close by for faster access, it's everywhere once you start looking for it. Your own brain does it with memories. A library might keep a most popular bookshelf right by the front door. So now that you know the secret, where else do you see these pantries, these caches, at work in your everyday life? It's kind of fun to think about.